I'm sure you guys have seen lots of promotional stuff every year for the PMRE conference, but is it actually worth going? I speak with the founder of the PMRE conference, Brandon Cooper, today on episode 31 of Real Estate Photography Unlocked.
I'm just trying to get mine, but these agents got me losing my mind. Whatever happened to the good times? Man, forget about it. It's showtime. Let me show you how to get some rest, how to make millions, how to be your best. This is shout out to the REPs, to the shooters, producers, and the newbies. Welcome to our podcast. I'm your rep MC. We're here every week talking real estate photography.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 31 of Real Estate Photography Unlocked. We're back with another great guest today. Please welcome Brandon Cooper, the founder of PMRE, but also a real estate photographer for over 10 years. We're happy to have you. Welcome, Brandon. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
I did get that correct. You are the founder, not the secondary owner of PMRE.
I am the founder. There could be some crossover there because I did way back in the day, there was a resource called PFRE, photographyforrealestate.net. It does still exist. Mm-hmm. I actually acquired that blog back in the day, and that was the beginning of the evolution into doing the live events. So I have since moved on from PFRE and started PMRE in 2019.
Awesome.
At the time, it was PFRE, I should say. We rebranded to sort of more accurately represent where this industry is. But yeah, I started the event.
And what does PMRE mean?
Photo and media for real estate.
Okay, awesome. Great. And before you did all this, you were a photographer. So we're going to get to PMRE and talk about all of that. This isn't an affiliation, by the way. I know a lot of people think that I just bring affiliated guests on here because they're paying something. That's not the situation. I bring people on who I think are going to have an interesting conversation, help us learn something. That's the primary goal of everything we do here. So let's dive in into PMRE. Who is Brandon Cooper as a photographer? And I'm really glad that you're on the podcast because I've heard a lot about PMRE and stuff, but I've always heard it from secondary sources on other podcasts or other people promoting it in Facebook groups. It's really good to put a face to the name because you look like a real estate photographer. You look like one of us. You look like one of us. So that's.
I think that was a compliment, I think.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, I guess we're probably not the best good-looking bunch. I find that a lot of us are overly stressed and living our lives off of fast food, but we try to balance it out. So how did you get started in real estate photography? What year was this? And it sounds like you may have gotten started right around the same time I did.
Yeah, so go back to 2012. I had been a licensed realtor for about 8 years. Good friend of mine was starting to dabble in real estate photography, kind of got me interested into it. He was going to leave town and said, hey, you've always been a creative guy. Why don't you kind of take the reins from me? It wasn't a thing, right? You're still trying to convince realtors at the time that you shouldn't be just taking photos with your camera. But it was a real hard sell. And so I went and spent a day with him and shadowed him. And I just fell in love instantly. That was back in the day. We sat in a chair, camera at waist level, doing 5 brackets, running it through Photomatics.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Photomatics. Not many people know about this. I actually covered Photomatics in my first course.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah,
it was a gem, man. It was, I'll never forget it. When he was showing me how to do the brackets and what we were looking at, the stuff I saw behind the camera made no sense to me. And the funny thing is I come from a family of photographers, but I had never picked up a camera in my life. When I first saw the images come out after they were processed, 5 brackets, I just kind of fell in love with it instantly. I know it sounds cheesy, but it's the truth. And I remember getting pretty obsessed, and it was time consuming. Back in the day for one house, start to finish, including editing, delivery, it was like 4 hours, and we were charging just a couple $100. Mm-hmm. But I got obsessed real quick, and so I started to kind of find whatever I possibly could to learn about it. Back in the day, the only two resources the only major resource was PFRE that we probably talk about. That was the Photography for Real Estate blog, run and founded by Larry Lorman. And then Scott Hargis was kind of the main guy who everybody looked up to. And he wrote a PDF book about how to do lighting. And it was off-camera flash. I was kind of blown away. It wasn't what I mean, it was new to me. I was learning the HDR, and oh man, if you look back at some of my portfolio, we went on family vacations and I'm doing HDR stuff thinking, oh my God, this is like a work of art. But I genuinely got obsessed. And I remember saying back in the day, if I could just take pictures of homes for the rest of my life, I literally would be the happiest man. Mm. And so I just pursued it, kept going, and time went on. And we got to 2016. I still was working a full-time job. I was doing sales. I'm up in a very remote northern community in northern Canada, very industry-based, run by oil. So I was doing sales for an industrial company out on the oil sites. And I remember just saying, man, if I could get like 10 shoots a week consistently for a month or two, I would go full time, and it would be a dream. So in 2016, it actually happened. I went full time. I got a little, it was a bit of a rough situation. We had the worst natural disaster of all time in Canada, where we got hit by a really bad wildfire. So we were evacuated from our city for a few months. And when we got back, the only other guy in town that was doing photography didn't return. So I went from struggling to all of a sudden had to do 150 shoots a month for 3 months all by myself. At the time, I was editing everything, and I was also delivering same day. So I was just drowning, but I still loved it. And that's what started the pursuit from then on. I've loved it ever since. And now I'm moving more into different directions in terms of where I get my creative satisfaction. But the love for real estate has always been there, but I'm a creative at heart. So selling real estate didn't do it for me. Capturing real estate, marketing real estate, that's where I really get excited about it.
Okay, yeah. And marketing real estate can be fun, although it can be a nightmare if you're not managing your business very well. And I go by this whole thing that most people switch jobs every 2 to 3 years, and they switch careers every 5 to 7. Very few people are what we call lifers, which actually choose a career and stick with it for a long time. So if you started in 2012, you're right around 13-year mark, which is actually right around the same time I got started. I was shooting photography in college at that point and started dabbling in starting my own business. I was doing a lot of senior portraits on campus for fellow students. But then I really wanted to get involved in other things. So I was doing everything I could, including real estate. But back then, same as you, I didn't have any resources. In fact, I wasn't even on YouTube, of course, but I didn't even watch YouTube. There was not much on YouTube back then besides cat videos, I guess. And yeah, so we've been doing this a long time. And you especially, are a important, I would say, figure in the history of real estate photography, since you now own one of the oldest blogs and have evolved that. That's really awesome, man. You should do more interviews yourself, because I think more people should get to know you well. And I did not know who Brendan Cooper was. I think I've sent you a Facebook friend request on Facebook, and it never got accepted. And I'm not saying that was personal, and I didn't think it was personal. I just knew, this guy isn't active on Facebook.
That's exactly right. Just to be clear, that's exactly right.
So it was a grand mystery. In my head, I was like, Brandon Cooper's probably like this suit executive and care less about us. He probably just runs a bunch of different conferences. But no, you're definitely one of us. And I have seen some of your comments, guys, that I should talk less. I can do my best, but I'm either in the office all day or shooting houses all day. So if I get to talk to somebody who I actually relate with, forgive me, I'm going to kind of nerd out about that. All right, well, awesome. So you got started in your business. You obsessed about it like a lot of us do. Something just bites, and we've got to do the best thing. How did your business, what are some things apart from PMRE that you started getting involved? What are some ways that you first learned to get clients? Obviously, the people leaving, that was great, but was it just word of mouth? In fact, give us a painting of what did real estate look like in North America back then, 2012. You've already told us photomatics, but nowadays it's getting tougher. I want to essentially have you talk about how you have seen real estate photography evolve and what your take on it is today, because things have changed.
Mm-hmm. Okay, can you hold? because that was a lot. Can you remember that question? Because I want to go back for 1 second just to make things perfectly clear.
Yes.
I bought the PFRE blog in 2018 because the owner, Larry, was getting up there in age and he was kind of getting tired of it. And I just didn't want to see it go away because it was so important to me. I also saw it as a potential business opportunity, and it had a ton of a potential to be kind of updated and all that kind of stuff. I have since, so once I got into that, I realized that's not, I'm not good at that stuff. I'm not good at the blog. I'm not good at the articles. I'm not good. It's just not my thing. And where I kind of really saw things going, at least where I could have a bit of an impact and actually enjoy my business, was the in-person stuff. So I've exited PFRE, the website. So I sold that off so that I could recover some of that investment and put everything I had into the in-person. So I just want to make sure that that's crystal clear so that nobody else.
Okay, yeah, my bad.
No, that's fine. And it's kind of a quiet thing. A lot of people still think I own it, and it's just because I never went and made a big fuss about when I decided to kind of step away. Most people that knew the way PFRE was back in the day compared to what it is now, it's two different things. But when I bought it, the timing was interesting because part of what was so valuable and what I loved so much about the blog was the community aspect. But it was right at the time when Facebook groups and all the other online forums were taking over, and that community kind of it just wasn't what it was back in the day. And so I kind of was like, man, we're so fragmented now. I don't know how much I can really offer this. I'm not going to be able to write good articles. I'm not going to be able to come up with new content constantly. But what I can do is be willing to take a risk to bring everybody together under one roof. And I'm pretty confident that we can make that happen. So I just wanted to step back for a second, make sure that was super crystal clear for everybody.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. And I did get that wrong, so thank you for the clarification. How is Larry these days? I don't know who this guy is, but is he now, has he passed or is he still around?
You know what? I haven't talked to Larry in a couple of years. So when we did the transition, we spent quite a bit of time together. It was quite clear he was kind of ready to just step away. I reached out a few times after the fact. And it, again, like I said, I got the vibe that he was ready to make this a past chapter. So I didn't want to push much further. So I haven't spoken to him in a few years. So yeah, I can't really give you an honest answer on that.
Yeah,
I hope he's doing well though, because
I just love talking to some of the old guards. I hope he's okay, but if he doesn't, if he wants to leave it behind,
he's as OG as it gets. This guy was doing real estate photography in 2005, writing handwritten letters to his brokerage people to get things going. So I mean, none of this would be where it is today without Larry getting things rolling back in the day. So huge props and shout out to Larry.
Yeah, and I just love learning about all this old stuff. Okay, so now that you've been in the business for a long time, how have you seen the industry evolve from when you got started in 2012? And frankly, since I've been involved in the business, I would say it's probably gone through at least 3 evolutions. And we're currently in the 3rd, but I would love to hear what your take on everything is.
Yeah, I'm not sure how I would be able to sort of dial it or drill down, I guess, to narrow it into like specifically 3 evolutions, but I know where you're going with that. From my perspective, the initial days, the early days when I was getting going, I really wanted to go full-time. Photography was without question the foundation. Then all of a sudden, this company called TourBuzz pops up. And all of a sudden now your photos can be turned into an online slideshow that can be shared across social media. Next thing you know, they can automate that into a YouTube video, which is just a YouTube video version of a slideshow. But at the time, agents were starting to want to have a bit of a YouTube, presence. So you could shoot a property, pay $15 for a credit at TourBuzz, turn that into a video, and now all of a sudden you've given your clients an extra little something to tell their agents that, hey, or tell their clients, hey, by the way, your property is going to be on YouTube. And that was a big deal. So that was the first add-on experience that I ever had, was adding TourBuzz tours, I guess, to our offering to our clients. At the time, we were also doing all kinds of crazy stuff because we were trying to justify our time and really make we were trying to go full time. And so money was an issue, right? We had to get cash flow. So we were offering to print their flyers for them. I offered to do signs up and down. I offered to do lockbox management, whatever we could. Fast forward a little ways, that starts to get better. There's more 360 tours become a thing now. When I say 360 tours back then, I'm talking like a camera that, and the room is just all wonky, it's fisheye and all that kind of stuff. But again,
and you got to stitch it together. Yeah, that's
exactly
terrific. Yeah,
but it was it was something new. It was something that people, agents are always trying to stand out, right? And so that became a thing. Where I see the biggest transition, and I was talking to somebody about this the other day, was right around COVID, right around the 2019, 2020 mark, where the world shut down. A lot of jobs were deemed unnecessary. We were deemed, what was the word they used? You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Oh man, I can't believe I forgot.
Kind of an offensive term. It kind of like when I heard it, I was like, oh my god, really? We're like grocery store essential.
Yeah, essential. Yeah, there we
go. So we were fortunate enough to be able to keep working, but everything was up in the air. And the thing that was so surprising to me was and in hindsight, looking back, it actually shouldn't have been that surprising, but the whole world got locked down and everybody had to be in their house. So all of a sudden their house became way more important. Like for me, I was out working 14 hours a day. I just needed a place to come back and do my work. But all of a sudden when I'm living there full time, 24 hours a day with the family, people around us, everybody's got different challenges and struggles going on. And all of a sudden it's like, man, your house is like the only thing you have any control over. So next thing you know, the real estate market just went bonkers.
Yeah.
And in my market, like I said, I'm in a very northern town driven by industry. It's minus 40 half the year. And in that minus 40, it's dark for 20 hours of the day. I'm exaggerating a bit, but you can imagine what it was like being locked away.
Canada. Yeah.
Big time, right?
Yeah.
But all of a sudden now those luxuries of like that was Matterport had already been out for a bit, but it wasn't really catching on. Like my agents had no interest for it. Might be just because the market I'm in and the price points and stuff like that, but they weren't really digging it. Soon as COVID hit, next thing you know, my business just exploded. And then it was 3D tours, and then other companies were getting involved trying to improve on the 3D tours. And then next thing you know, the new iPhone comes out, and all of a sudden, you know what? There's some technology out here where you can actually scan a property and do a floor plan with your phone. And you don't need a $8,000 at the time or $7,000 camera. So to me, that was the biggest shift. And that's where the light bulb went off, where it was like, okay, we're not photographers. We are full-scale real estate media creators. We are marketing partners for our clients. We're not just a guy they call to come and take photos for them. They rely on us for their marketing. And my line, I don't want to say the line because that sounds almost like cheesy, salesy, but what I would say to the agents is that I'm like, listen, guys, why don't you worry about what you should be doing, which is getting listings and writing offers, and let me worry about making your property look really good. We're an extension of your brand. You bring us in to your listing. We treat your clients amazing. We create good material to market the property. We make you look good. It's a match made in heaven, and it just clicked. And so from that point forward, I realized the relationship with the agent, if they actually understand the value we bring, that isn't just, that's a photographer, that is an extension of my brand that's going to make me look good and get me more listings. Because that's the other thing I would tell them is like, yes, we're trying to sell the house you're listing, of course. But my main goal is to get you the next listing. I want you to stand out when because buyers become sellers. I want them to see you when they're searching to buy a home. One day they're going to sell a home, and they're going to want to have the person that markets the home the best. So our goal has always been to get people, get those agents the next listing. And so once that light bulb went off, and I started talking to my agents instead of saying, hey, I'll shoot this listing for free for exposure, or I'll, whatever. Back then, sort of my idea of marketing was completely shifted. And I just said, hey, listen, this is not a vendor customer relationship. We're partners. And once that clicked, I landed a couple agents that just would not take a listing without working with us. or with me at the time, the doors, it kind of blew the doors open, changed the way, it actually made the business more fun too, because we were genuinely partners. And that to me was the biggest shift. And now I say all the time, if you were to go to PFRE, the conference that started as PFRE 2019, and you ask people in the room, how many of you do just photography? How many of you do other media? Roughly 8 people out of 10 would just put their hand up that they're just photographers. You fast forward to today, and the other question would be, how many of you are single operators, or do you have a team, or do you work for a big company? It's mostly independents just doing photography. If you do that this year at PMRE, it's the complete opposite. 9 out of 10 people in that room, I mean, you'd be hard pressed to find someone in that room that is a single operator only doing photography. Almost everybody in that room is doing probably everything, or at least has built a team to offer everything, to be a one-stop shop, offering everything: video, photo, 3D floor plans, all that kind of stuff. So that's the whole point of, we have literally become an indispensable partner and marketing piece of the real estate ecosystem. And that's the biggest change that I've noticed. And I mean, it's happened fast. Back in 2019, we were still convincing realtors not to take pictures with their phones and trying to pull teeth to charge them $200 for a photo shoot. Come to 2025, and PMRE is just a good example of it. We have most of the largest companies out there that service our industry that are coming to our conference to meet our attendees, because they realize we have the most valuable thing available, which is the relationship with the end user. So we're no longer a scrappy little, independent single operator sort of industry. We're still niche, but we're super critical. We're absolutely critical to the ecosystem of real estate, and it just seems to be snowballing. So you apologize to your audience about talking too much. I tried to apologize at the same time, but I wasn't quite there. But I'll do that now. So that was a huge long rant, but I hope to where we're at.
Yeah, you're who they came to listen to. At least I have my own YouTube channel. I make plenty of tutorials. I'm going to be making a lot more this winter. But for the podcast, my name isn't even in the title. It's Real Estate Photography Unlocked, and then the guest, right? So it is all about you for these. So don't apologize for talking too much at all. Although, I don't mind having conversation. I agree with you completely, though. I do think PMRE is a great reflection of how the industry has grown over time. A lot of people, I still get the question, "Oh, you're a real estate photographer? Like, you do that full time?
Is that a real thing?"
It's like, bro, I probably make more money than you do. Sorry.
I get it all the time still, man. Oh, you make a living doing that? I'm like, shoot 1,200 homes a year at an average of XYZ, and our overhead is
yeah.
15%.
I don't share that much with people, because
I don't even, if they're on the golf course and they're pushing, then it doesn't hurt to kind of dig in a little bit. But you're right. I agree. There's so many people out there that are like, "Oh, I didn't realize that was a thing."
I tell people all the time, and especially my family, because I come from a family who's everyone's highly educated. We're talking master's degree minimum, right? And I went to college expecting, to go be a doctor, but I also came into college and I kind of saw the whole thing as a giant scam. Like, we're paying how much for this? And a lot of the classes sucked. I didn't learn a single thing. And I just recognized, man, I'm just supposed to be a doctor, and I'm going to be doing like another 8 to 12 years of this scam. Like, I'm sure I'll learn some stuff eventually, but right now, I'm taking classes over again and paying premium money that I took in high school. Like, why is this? But yeah, the point I was trying to get to was, all of my family are highly educated, and they still to this day worry about me. And I try to lay it out to them very clearly. I say, guys, let's just do some simple math here. Let's take a house cleaner. I pay my house cleaner, depending on what she's doing, $250 to $350 to clean my house. I have to book her 2 weeks out because she is fully booked, and she has 2 cleaning teams besides herself. So if she's doing 3 or 4 homes a day, she's making around $1,000 to $1,200 a day from one of her teams, and she's got 2 additional teams. How much money is she making a year? And the problem with highly educated people is they are just, I love my family, but they can get their titles and their papers to their head a little bit, and they don't stop to realize that cleaner that is cleaning their house probably makes more than them and their doctor of some sort, So, yeah, I don't really talk to homeowners about what I make. I'm just like, I do think that owning your own business is the single best way to make an income. Because
yeah. Oh, and just to clarify, I hope you didn't misunderstand me. I would never talk to homeowners about that kind of stuff. This is when I'm, like I said, maybe on the golf course, and they mention, what do you do for a living? What do you do for a living? And they're like, that's a job. But you know what? To your point, something that, as you were talking, is really interesting, because I never went to college or university. I was just never a school guy. That's what's so interesting to me about our industry, is there is this level of, like, we require creative satisfaction and lifestyle. And the one thing about real estate media is, as I referenced earlier, when we had our wildfire and I was overwhelmed, and I mean, you can real easy get sucked into working 14 hours a day, and just, it can kill you. It can just absolutely wreck you. But if done properly, that's what's kind of neat about where things are moving, is people are starting to accept it a little bit more as a business. Whereas before, I remember I wrote an article on PFRE in it's probably still there, maybe 2016, when I finally outsourced my photos, and I got crucified because people were like, how could you possibly sacrifice your artistic integrity? And I was like, I didn't want to, because I love the creative, but I also have a family, I got a new baby. I can't work 15 hours a day. And I actually kind of put my flag in the ground that day and said, listen, this isn't for everybody. Some people are just going to want to be the artist for life, and that's fine. Some people are going to hit a fork in the road and want to make it more of a business and try to scale a team and try to create a quality of life. And the cool thing about our industry is that you can do both. So I love the fact that we can be creative at heart, but run a really successful business. And that's kind of where things have evolved for me. I've finally hired a full-time shooter, where I'm able to step away from the day-to-day a bit, and I get most of my creative satisfaction from building PMRE and connecting people. So it's really, it's just an amazing industry, in my opinion. Watching so many people who are creatives building great businesses, and we're watching a big sort of merge of those folks who have an element of creativity and an element of business, and sometimes they lean one way or the other. But the ones that are kind of doing the best have found a way to kind of bridge that gap, right? And I kind of sound like a broken record because I've said this many times before, but I just believe it with my whole heart. And there's nothing better than making a solid living and also getting that creative satisfaction. And there's nothing that I'm aware of that for my personality that I could do other than what I'm doing, because real estate was my first passion, but I'm creative. Put the two together, make a great living, have a good quality of life. I mean,
there's no better meeting there, especially, right-brained and left-brained people. When you have the creative, abstract realm that lives really in your conscious and subconscious, is actually able to materialize itself in the real world in some way. And there's, of course, all sorts of industries where you can do that. Software development is one of them. But being able to see it here with real estate photography, being able to tell a story, I agree with you completely. And I do feel like it's one of the great journeys of man in your lifetime, is to kind of bridge that gap. Because I do feel like no matter how business oriented, for example, you are, even if you're just all binary numbers and just results, there's also a little bit of creative in us all. And I've seen that for sure. Man, I really like you. I did not anticipate. I don't think I've had too many guests that I haven't liked. But I kind of
Again, I think I'll take that as a compliment.
No. It's a really good compliment, because I I can be a touch critical. But yeah, you're legit thoroughbred, real-time real estate photographer. I really did think you would just give
Good.
you a suit, man. So happy to have you
Dude,
on.
the whole reason I'm in this business is I made a promise to myself. I'm never wearing a suit. My wife gets mad at me all the time. I don't own any dress clothes. I've designed my life around what I really get satisfied by, what I want to do. I want to be comfortable, I want to be casual, and I want to be just hanging with people that I like and doing the stuff that I like. I don't have any interest in titles, and that's also what's so awesome about our industry. You talk about being unassuming, man. You walk into a PMRE room and you see these guys, you don't know who the heck you're looking at. And there's some guys in that room I know of that are one person operations making over $1 million a year, and they're not walking around looking all fancy. They're just having the time of their life, and that's another thing that just puts the icing on the cake for me.
Man,
They're happy.
You are a very optimistic person. I sometimes maybe it's because you don't spend time in the Facebook groups.
Well, I definitely spend. I mean, I observe. I'm a behind the scenes guy. Let's put it that way. That's why I love what I do, because that's why I never touch foot on that stage, other than to just kind of say thank you at the end of the conference. Mm-hmm. There's so many people out there that are so good at what they do, and they're so good at communicating what they do. I like to connect people, and I like to host people. That's kind of what gets me really excited. And so I do certainly pay attention to what's going on in the groups, but I mean.
No, I was just thinking your take on how everybody's just unassuming, and you might have a guy who makes $1 million a year, and he doesn't, peacock around the room at all. I was about to disagree with you, and I always try to think before I disagree with somebody, like, okay, what's their perspective on this? And I realized you're actually meeting a lot of these people in person, and I see a lot of the same bad actors in the Facebook groups, the same what do you call it, typical, who do you call it, usual suspects, there we go, that are always kind of picking fights, harassing new people who have questions that they should have used the search bar on, but they didn't. And that's just something you have to expect. Some things are part of life. People are going to ask the same questions over and over again, and real estate agents are not going to give you the combo information correctly. It's just a force of nature, right?
Yeah.
But these guys, people, will choose to harass, and the amount of ego and stuff that I see, that I feel like is pervasive in our industry, that I have kind of set out to change as much as I can, but you can't do that because it's just like I said, a force of nature. But it's interesting that you have such a different perspective, and the reason is because the primary focus for you is actually meeting a lot of the people in person rather than inside a Facebook group. That is telling. That is telling, and something for me to think about there.
Can I add on to that a bit? Or, sorry, I don't want to.
Yeah, please, absolutely.
So I'm so glad you brought that up, because first of all, I believe wholeheartedly this is not a real estate media thing, this toxic online nonsense. This is just the world, and this is the world of social media. I mean, you just have to look at Instagram for 5 seconds and realize it's not real, right? I mean, some of it's real, but there's an element of people have the ability to just kind of put out a certain version of what they want out. Some of that is positive, and some of it is negative, and some of it is insecurity, and there's all kinds of different things. But if we go back to 2019, and I was toying with the idea of starting this conference, one of my best friends, Tony Colangelo, and I were doing in-person workshops for 15 people at a time. And we would always do feedback forums at the end, and everybody was like, oh, it was good content. I'm going to learn a few things. I'm going to take it back to my market. But the overarching feedback was always, man, is it ever nice to get into a room with like-minded people who I can drop my guard around, share best practices, vent if I need to, ask for help if I need to, and not feel like I'm just going to walk out of here and get stabbed in the back because they're not from my market. That is the most valuable thing. They're like, this is the thing I didn't even realize we needed. And I started to realize, I'm like, I don't think I realized that we needed that, but it's so right. That's why I feel so good when I leave these workshops. So when I started talking about doing this gathering of real estate photographers at the time, and kind of scaling this thing up and saying, you know what, there's nothing out there for this industry to really come together as a group. Like, we're talking the whole world, anyone who wants to come, let's go. The feedback I got was like, you are out of your mind. Have you spent any time?
I'll give you the same feedback today.
That's what I'm saying. And so they're like, you are batshit crazy, man. Have you not seen these Facebook groups? They're absolute savages. And I was like, no.
Yeah.
And I remember at the time I was very nervous because I was like, yeah, I've seen them, and the groups can get pretty feisty, and I was very nervous. But I remember saying back in the day, I was like, I got a little bit more faith in humanity. I don't think that's a real estate photography at the time industry issue. That's just a social media, people behind screens. That's just kind of a human nature thing that manifests itself in certain ways. I'm pretty confident if we bring everybody together under a common banner, show them a great time, introduce them to people that they've known online for maybe 8 years but never had a chance to meet in person, we're going to have a hell of a time. And I don't think we're going to deal with too much trouble. And you know what? If we do, we can just politely ask those people to leave. And sure enough, my wife had the best idea in the history of our conference. The night before the conference, it was lunchtime. She's like, Brandon, there's so many people here already. Why don't we go down to the lounge and just put out a note on Facebook and say, hey, we're at this lounge at South Point Casino in Las Vegas. Come on down. We've got the laptop out. Introduce yourself. We'll give you your badge and your lanyard. That'll take pressure off tomorrow morning's registration. This was our first event, keep in mind, because we're all stressed out, freaking out. Like, holy smokes, we got 300 people coming from, at that time, 14 countries. We were freaking out. And I thought we'd get 20 people to come down, grab their badge, and then take some pressure off. We had such a lineup in the casino that security came and shut us down because we were blocking slot machines. We ended up with 200 people in this lounge that night. We checked in 2/3 of the group. I saw a bunch of the people that I was worried about online. They couldn't have been cooler. I saw them talking to other people that I had witnessed them feuding with online, and they couldn't have been cooler together. And from that moment forward, I was like, this is what we need. We need these people to come together once a year, high five each other, bring their friends, and realize that we're a family. We're not competition online. So I'm so glad that you brought it up, because it started as the number one concern we have, and it's become not only the least concern we have, but the thing that we look the most forward to every single year.
I think that's wonderful. I think the internet can play for humans like fences can for dogs. So if you guys don't know what fence fighting is, if you guys aren't dog lovers or dog owners, essentially if you put a fence in between two dogs, they're going to bark and fight and even bite the fence just because the fence is there. And if you just take away the fence, they're completely cool. The internet plays that role for humans. I think the internet existing and social media is one of the reasons you see one of the downturns in society we've seen over the last decade or two. That being said, when the fence gets put back in place, dogs will go right back to fighting. And I do think that's the situation for maybe even some of the attendees there, because I know people who are attendees at PMRE who are also some of the worst inside the Facebook groups, like the worst. Like, I have a list of blocked people, and I don't need to call anybody out here because I've forgotten who most of them are anyway. But if you looked at my block list, you would see like a guest list of PMRE in some cases. But I'm glad they are. I'm glad they are. More inviting and generally kind people when they're in person with people, because I can't imagine just being that kind of person permanently. So that's good.
Well, I think when you when you are face to face with folks who are like, think about, an analogy might be like maybe a UFC community. They all have to prove themselves, right? They all have to, they're killers in their own right. Put them all in the same place, and it's kind of like everybody's in check, because there's always someone better than you next to you. but there's always somebody beside you that could learn from you, and they are excited to ask you questions and learn from you. And if you're willing to share, you build this bond. And if you're willing to be humble enough to the one that's next to you that you believe, whether you're willing to accept it, if your ego will let you accept it, who's maybe a little bit ahead when it comes to their business, and all of a sudden they extend an olive branch and they want to have a beer with you and share their best practices. It just happens. You just can't do that online. And again, I'm not there. Social media is amazing in so many ways, but it's different. And that's why we've doubled down. And the COVID thing, we almost skipped the year 2020. We were so excited coming out of 2019. We had so much momentum from the in-person. COVID hits and we almost skipped a year because, we had no money. We were barely scraping by, but we made the call to say, we're going to go online. It's not a great experience for the attendees, but at least we can prove to this community that we're committed to bringing everybody together once a year. It's not going to be the same, but at least we can show them that we want to make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
When you see this happen and those relationships are formed, those are the barriers that can be broken in person that can't be broken online. And there's just no price you can put on it. And to that point, just to put a cherry on top, if you ever hear criticism about PMRE, one of the biggest ones I hear is, it's just a glorified networking event. And I used to take massive offense to that. As we've gotten more mature with our event and learn more about the industry and made more relationships, and also, of course, we poll our audience every single year, get their feedback and adjust according to their feedback as best we can. That's a huge compliment to me now rather than a diss, because at the end of the day, anyone can throw an event. Anybody could throw a ton of money at bringing people together. It's a real special thing to bring 350 like-minded folks from around the world and genuinely bring them together, not just stuff them in a room, but bring them together and incentivize networking and introducing people. Just introduce each other, and it becomes, it sounds so corny, but it becomes a bit of a family, or a community would be the better term. But when I watch the pre-registration gathering the night before the conference starting every year, and people are hugging and high-fiving, you're seeing people that you met at PMRE 7 years ago, or you're meeting people, this is your first time and you've seen them online for 9 years, and now you get to shake their hand, and you just can't put a price on it. And that's what makes it the most exciting for us, well over and above the education, the business, the money-making, all that stuff. To me, this is the intangible that you just can't replace.
And it sounds like your primary goal isn't to bring everybody, as many people as you can in one spot in order to sell them more, which is what a lot of people's goal is.
Sell them more what, though? What do you mean?
So I go to conferences. I have one major, especially conference that I do a year as a photographer. But I was also, thinking about what I've heard about other conferences in our industry is, and it's one of the reasons why, I wanted you on, is you may attend your average conference and you're being paid to attend a giant sales meeting. You don't learn that much. There may not be that much networking, and they're just there to sell you more. And it seems like you have a very organic growth, very honest intention, and it doesn't seem like you're really there it really just seems like you're there to, what do they say? Create an environment for everybody to be there. And as far as selling goes, you sell tickets. And so once people are there, your job is done. You're just enjoying it. So I think that's a very good thing. I talk about bad actors and other things in our industry. It's very important to me, the standards that kind of quantify a bad actor versus a good actor is, do they tell you the truth about what they're selling? Are they transparent with the price? And do they force you into an overburdensome type of sales price? You don't do any of those things. You're very transparent. You are a true, like I said, a thoroughbred real estate photographer. And you seem to have a real honest, genuine intention behind all this. And I can usually read when someone doesn't, man. I didn't think, I would have agreed this much with this, because my whole thing about conferences is like, man, going out to Las Vegas, I don't drink. I'm more of a family kind of guy. My idea of fun is playing Apex Legends with my college buddies when I don't need to sleep. And the whole idea of going to a conference has never appealed to me, which I've never gone, because it's, man, okay, I've got to get a plane ticket. I've got to get hotel tickets. I've got to get the event tickets. And then there's the time that I'm not going to be, working. That's lost cost. But now that I have a team, it makes a lot more sense for me to step out, because I can very easily step out of the business and do other things, which is exactly what I've wanted to do for a long time. But you've almost got me convinced to go, man. I have gotten so many people reaching out to me, especially this year, being like, hey, have you ever gone to PMRE? I've never seen you there. I'm like, no, I haven't. You should go. And I've had 3 or 4 people offer me, I guess some vendors get like a free ticket they can offer to somebody. I've had 3 people offer that to me. So I haven't been able to do it. Not this year, especially because I've got 2 kids under 2, and I'm not going to leave my wife in the trenches taking grenades while I go to Vegas. But man, I think I really will attend this in the future. Maybe not even next year, but I will definitely attend this. Speaking of free tickets, let me pause the podcast here and just mention very quickly, Fatello, who I'm affiliated with now, because I believe they're a fantastic AI company. In fact, I think personally they're the best, which is why I affiliated with them. But they have a little gift process going. You can check the link in the description, submit your name and information. They're going to be giving away 8 free tickets to PMRE. And you have some things you want to talk about with PMRE. The hotel deadline is closing and such. So if you guys want to go ahead and submit your information to possibly win free tickets from Fatello, then go ahead and click the link in the description and you can get a chance to win that. Also, make sure if you go to say hello to Harmon and check out their AI stuff, because it's fantastic. That being said, let's talk about all of the logistics of PMRE. If people want to buy a ticket, where do they go? What are the deadlines? Do you guys have any seats left, or can you always add more? Is it too late? Is essentially what I'm asking.
Yeah, no. So we do. We're pretty full, but we definitely have some space. The current venue that we're at is relatively limiting, but based on our timing, what are we, about 5 weeks out at the time of this recording? There's still some room. The biggest thing. So when it comes to those discount codes and stuff like that, most of the major vendors that participate have some form of a discount code up their sleeve that we've worked into their deals. So pick your favorite vendor, if you happen to be working with one of them. If you're thinking of attending, you can probably find a discount code. The biggest thing is the hotel deadline is October 16th. We have, going back to your point, Jonathan, about, the stigma of conference. Oh, I'm going to have to take time out of my market. I got to book a flight. I got to get a hotel. I got to do meals. All of this stuff is super legit. And again, we're hyper focused on the end user. So from day one, that's part of why our conference has been challenging to build in the way that we build it. But we go out of our way to try and remove any barriers that we possibly can. So for example, we booked 1,250 hotel room nights this year, literally on my credit card, to guarantee a certain rate for our attendees. If we don't fill those rooms, we take the hit. But it's F1 week. Vegas is going to be jumping. Those room rates are going to get crazy, no matter what hotel you're at. So up until October 17th, or I should know, or while supplies last, because those are hotel room nights, so they can get scooped. If you're thinking last minute you want to join us, you really want to jump on that and take advantage of the hotel room rates.
So you're saying last minute. This is last minute.
Well, roughly. You can technically book all the way up until the night before if you want. You're just at the mercy of rack rates across the board when it comes to some of those things that we talked about. From a food perspective, we provide food, every day there's at the end of the day, you go to the vendor lounge and you hang out with all the vendors, and we've got bars open. We're providing food. We do a great big networking party where we provide an open bar and food for the evening. There's free lunch and learns every day that are being put on from different sponsors. So there's food being covered there. Of course, there's going to be some costs, some travel and some time out of market and airplane and that kind of thing. But we really genuinely go out of our way to try and remove those barriers and make it as absolutely affordable to the end user as possible. Our goal is literally undeniable value. So that's something to consider. If you want to register, just go to www.pmreconference.com. It's pretty darn simple. You get a confirmation email. It'll give you the booking link for hotels. There's some tips in there of, little pro tips along the way of where to get your coffee and where not to get your coffee and that kind of stuff. But other than that, I think that fairly well covers kind of the logistics side of it. I think I answered your question.
Yeah. That's all the details. If people are actually interested in this and want to go. And the dates of the conference themselves?
November. So the main conference is November 18th to 20th. Okay. So it's a 3-day conference. The Monday prior, like the day before you get, or like the day you get there, we do a pre-registration get together, which that's the one that my wife came up with that used to be at the lounge and now has become one of the biggest parts of the entire event. People are super stoked to get there. All the vendors are already set up. So you get a chance to come in. We keep the doors open for like 4 or 5 hours so you can grab your badges, your lanyards, get organized so that the next morning, the pressure is off. This year, we have so many new attendees that we've actually introduced a new attendee meetup before the pre-reg meetup, just so that we can, shake some hands and give people a little bit of the lay of the land before they get thrown into what turns into, once pre-reg happens Monday night, and then you're into the 3 full days of the conference, plus the parties and the networking, and it's a blur. It's a heck of a lot. It's super intense. And so we want to get our hands on the first time attendees to try and steer them in the right direction. And then the only other thing I should mention, we do have some workshops. So we talked earlier about this conference focusing quite heavily on networking and business based on the feedback from attendees over the years. But we also, we're still technically minded. So it's really hard to be overly effective on stage talking technical for 45 minutes. So we do have optional workshops. They're a separate charge, and they're kind of they're independently operated with some of the people that we trust. But there's workshops Sunday and Monday leading up to the conference. A couple of them are really focused on the photography side. Some are business and marketing focused. And there are a few, not a ton, but there's still a few seats open for those as well. And all that stuff's available on PMREconference.com.
Okay. All right, man. Anything else you want to talk about before we head out on this one?
Nothing I can think of on the spot, other than the fact that appreciate the opportunity to come and talk to you and your audience. And I hope that we can overcome this stigma, because I see it a lot in the Facebook groups too. There's a lot of chatter here and there about workshops and masterminds and all this stuff. And I see a lot of feedback. Oh, this is just a shameless money grab. To your point, there's good and bad actors in every industry, and everybody's got their own motive. And I just want to encourage people to not listen to the chatter. This isn't a sales pitch. This is just that I started this conference for myself because I needed it. I needed, we talk a lot about at PMRE about being islands in our market. Mm-hmm. You can't go vent to your competition across town. You can't go and confide in somebody in your own market. So to be able to go to a location where everybody that gets there genuinely understands what you're going through, they drop their ego at the door. They're unbelievably willing to share their own knowledge. And part of why we've scaled and grown this business or this event so slowly and thoughtfully is because we don't want a bunch of tire kickers. We want to make sure that when you come to PMRE, anybody that you bump into is either somebody you can learn from or somebody that you can personally provide value to. And it doesn't matter if you're brand new or you've been doing it for 20 years. So I just want to make sure people aren't intimidated to step out and come to an event that might feel a little bit intense, depending on what, where you're at in your career. And also for the folks that think they might kind of have everything dialed and know everything. I'm the perfect example. I had a beer with a guy I was just trying to hire my first person, and he was 3 or 5 people in, I can't remember. I told him my strategy for how I was going to hire. He graciously told me, you know what, man, appreciate where you're coming from. I went down that road, and here were the issues I had. I pivoted, I adjusted, I did this, and it saved me a bunch of time. And by having that conversation with that guy for 1 hour, it saved me probably 8 months of pain. So can't put a price on that kind of stuff. So I just want, again, I don't want that to sound pitchy. It's just the truth. Getting in a room with 350 like-minded people who know exactly what you're going through at different levels of experience in their own and in their own stages of business is kind of invaluable. And the cool thing is everybody's there to have a great time. So
yeah,
I
and
would just kind of leave you with that.
Yeah, and one of the things I live by, it's one of those sayings I have in the notes on my phone is, even if someone doesn't know as much as you can still learn from them.
If you pick up one thing.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, one of the things I love about being a mentor is oftentimes I'll be mentoring people, and they'll be like, "Yeah, I was following your program, and I got business from this, and I didn't think that would work." Well, how did that happen? And we discover something new. But also, it's just I learn from people who I'm mentoring all the time, and it's great for me. But another thing I was going to say too was I do think your conference. I've never been to a conference as a paying customer, but if I was going to give a conference a shot in our industry, yours would by far and away be the one that I would go to. And I'm not trying to throw shade at any individual or any single conference. I'm just talking about trying to prop you up for doing a great job and having your intentions in the right place. I really think that's important. And I think it shows in your conference and why you guys get recommended the most. There's no question. So great job. And I do think if you want to, I don't know, so from the outsiders looking in, my view of the PMRE reputation is like, that is the conference to go to. There are a few people out there who would say, conferences kind of suck. Don't bother going. It's a waste of money. Those people are very few and far in between. And I think if you wanted to completely shut them down, you are a great face for your conference, and you should just get on some more podcasts, make a little bit more YouTube videos, and I think you'll completely shut down that rumor or whatever else. Because I don't know, have you done more podcasts and I just haven't seen them? Or
yeah, I've done a few. I've been on some of the Upmarket.
Feel free to name them.
Upmarket's a big partner of ours. Yeah. I was with the boys from Pixel Mob the other day. They're always great. So I've been on a few, but again, couple things. Number one, I'm definitely just naturally in my comfort zone is behind the scenes. I like to set up the other folks for success, our vendors and our speakers and that kind of thing. And I'm not, the thing about it is I have no interest in shutting anybody down, shutting down the haters, whatever. At the end of the day, for us, our sort of, I guess you could call it, it's kind of cheesy, but I guess you can call it your mission statement. But our goal is to just help real estate media creators succeed while bringing the community together and elevating the industry. And they all come together, because if you bring the community together and you help them succeed, they elevate the industry. And if you elevate the industry, you're bringing people together. And so at the end of the day, for us, we just want to provide, like I said, undeniable value. And ultimately, the people that should be there will be there. We want to make sure, I should make it super crystal clear too. We want to make sure that we make it, and this is part of us removing barriers and keeping costs in line and trying to help with hotel rates and stuff like that. We want to make sure who should be there can be there. And ultimately, like I said, we're not trying to get everybody. We're not trying to sell tickets. We're trying to make sure that we're cultivating a culture in that room that you feel a little bit better about yourself and your business when you leave, right? We tell people PMRE is about actually, this is kind of the one time a year we're encouraging people to put their cameras down and step away from their business and elevate 10,000 feet, look at it rather than be in it, and get re-energized, go home, and then get ready to kick some ass in the next year. So we're not trying to shut people down. We're not trying to convert anybody. We're not trying to be anything that we're not. We just want to provide undeniable value. And over time, the right people will keep trickling through those doors and foster that community and just make it better and better. And the neat thing is, we kind of started it out that way, and we've learned over time what people really want, and we're trying to make sure that we feed that. But genuinely, it's been the attendees that have created the culture that's become, in my opinion, so special and intangible. So that's where we come from, and it's not a pitch, it's not a shtick, it's just who we are. And we're otherwise we could easily be at 700 people right now, but that's not the goal.
All right. Hey man, great job, Brandon, and thank you for coming on the podcast. If you don't mind sending me a link, I'm going to make sure we put that link in the description so people don't even have to go to pmreconference.com. They can certainly do that, but go ahead and send me a link. I of course can just put that one in the description. But thank you guys, and always don't forget, if you're looking for a great software for scheduling, check out Real Estate Media Hero. We're going to be celebrating our 1-year anniversary coming up, and I've got a very special offer that you guys will want to watch the YouTube channel for. And of course, there's always Real Estate Photography Masterclass. So thank you guys very much, and I look forward to seeing you guys on episode 32.